Hello, and welcome to my channel, What's Good on TV. My name is Nicole Goss, and I'm down here to review Sister Wives. He Delivered Me from All My Fears, Season 19, Episode 6. This episode was okay. I think there was some parts that were really, really interesting. But let's jump right on in. It opens up, it's Christmas time. Yay, Christmas. And Kody is talking about how he's excited for Christmas and he's trying to figure out how to be engaged and to be present, but it's a different Christmas because they're not all together, of course. And we see Robin, and a little heads up, we don't see lots of Robin this time. And I didn't I got just enough of her. I could have not seen her. But we see Robin, and Robin is talking about how this is a Christmas that is different because now Mary won't be there. So it's just going to be them. But of course, she wants to make this a special time for her children. And there's a little bit of banter between her and Kody talking about the presents because there's a lot of presents. And she's like, all those presents are him. And he's saying, but Robin likes to wrap all the presents, so we're up half the night, and it's ha 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 ha. I would say I'm one of those people too. I like to wrap all the presents. I think there's something fun about opening up all the presents. When I was growing up, my mom was not a wrapper, so she would just kind of make a nice display. But I do enjoy wrapping all the presents. But I guess they kind of put that in there to be, to show them being lighthearted. But I wonder, like, why don't they because they're together? Why not have Robin and Kody do a confessional together? They're always kind of separate, but they're still together, so they can still do confessionals. That might be kind of nice to see. We also get to see Christine's Christmas, and she's spending Christmas with her kids, Aspen and Isabel and Peyton, and McKelty's there with her children, and it looks like they're having a good time. All the footage looks like it's been, shot on iPhones. And so she's expressing gratitude and talking about new traditions. Janelle is spending Christmas with her daughter, Maddie, and her family. And of course, there's more iPhone footage, and they're talking about how it's different. And Janelle is sharing how she normally, I guess Janelle didn't do any of the cooking because she had to figure out how to make stuff, but they're figuring it out. They're managing. Mary is spending the holidays with her friends, Lisa and Amber, and we see them with the dogs, and they look all cozy and toasting with the mugs. It looked like a Christmas card. They were having a good old time. And Mary said, she could have went to Kody's and Robin's for Christmas, but she wanted to be with people who wanted to be with her. And that makes perfect sense. So it looks like everyone had a very different Christmas, but not, they had a different Christmas, but it was still a good Christmas. They still had a good time. And they're all kind of moving on. And one of the things I noticed is that, it's easier for the ladies, the OGs, Mary and Janelle and Christine. They're more positive and forward looking and excited about things than the others who shall go nameless. Christine goes in and she starts talking a little bit about her dating life and how she has been out in these streets trying to find her a man, and that she's excited about it. Basically, she just wants somebody who is bald and has a motorcycle and has some tattoos. And that's not a very detailed list. But she did also describe how when she was in counseling before, that her therapist, I can't think of her name right now, had wanted her to come up with a list of things that were really important to her in a man. And there were things like, like good communicator, wants to be with her and be with her kids, and just some nice things like that. And she realized that her husband was none of the things on the list, that Kody were none of the things on the list. And Kody, when he saw the list, he realized too, he agreed that he was none of those things. And I'm thinking, even the thing about wanting to be with your kids, like he wasn't that either. That's concerning. That's not good at all. So Mary shares her ideas about dating, which she says for her, the idea of going on a date would just be weird. I'm thinking Mary now. We know about the catfish. We know you can't be that weird. Janelle says that for her, if she was to date somebody, that it would need to be organic. Like she don't want to go on these sites, these apps, or any of this. And Kody says that Christine dating is none of his business, which I thought was kind of funny when he was like, "It ain't none of our business her dating." And I was like, that's the most truthful thing he's probably said in a long time. It's not his business. So everybody's really concerned about dating and moving on. And I'm going to say this. Sometimes people are so male-centered. It's like you're not moving on unless you're moving on with a man. And so I guess I'm a little annoyed with this. Well, who you dating? Who you dating? Who you dating? Well, Janelle doesn't have to date anybody. Mary doesn't have. They can move on with their lives without a man. If Christine wants a man, that's great and fine. But, you know, let's not act like you can't move on in your life unless you got a man with you. Well, you're not happy unless you got a man. So I was like, why every episode are we getting hit with, well, is Janelle going to date? Is Mary going to date? No, they can take their time. So talking about dating, we are back at Christine's house. And Christine is, getting ready to meet with her kids. And so we see McKelty and Tony is there with their babies. And Peyton comes in, and Isabel and Caleb come in as well. No, Aspen is the one that's married. Because Aspen and Isabel look a lot alike to me. Gorgeous girls. And Isabel, they all come in. And at first, it seemed like they was going to have a meeting that wasn't appropriate for young people because it seemed like they were trying to have this talk before Truly got there. But really, the conversation was all about David. So she wanted to talk to them about her dating life, and she wanted to get their feels on what did they like about David. So they pretty much all said, we like David. McKelty said, I let him hold my babies. Truly does eventually come in, and they asked Truly, what does she think about David? And Truly's like, yeah, he's nice. And Truly like, listen, I ain't got time for it. I got homework. She started reading her book. And so she's been dating David for 1 month, and she tells them how after 1 week, they started, sharing the I love yous. David said it first, she said it afterwards, and they have been meeting each other's families. His family took her out on a chocolate date, which sounds really kind of cool. Now, Christine has already introduced them to her kids, but I'm going to tell you, I spent some time working in child welfare. And because of that experience, I'm a mother of 3. If I was dating somebody, they wouldn't get to see my kids for a month of Sundays. It'd be a long time. I don't want to, I just would not for a sec, because you can never tell. You can say, oh, he's nice. You don't really know how somebody is. And so just because of that experience, I would be really cautious about introducing my kids to someone quickly. This is not a judgment. I'm not judging it at all. Do what Christine do what you want. I'm not judging it at all. But I would just say for me, I would move slowly about introducing my children to somebody for safety reasons, but also because if it doesn't work out, I wouldn't want my kids to get attached to somebody and it doesn't work out, and then I have to, manage my heartbreak in theirs too. But that's just me. I am not judging it. Get your happy wherever you can, Kristen. But I would think about, if it was me, I'd be thinking about those things. But anyway, back to the program. Everybody likes him, David. And Tony says that he admires him for how he was able to take care of his children after he became a widow. And he finished raising 8 kids by himself. My hat is off to him, because to be able to manage or hold your own grief, and then to help your children grieve, and then to finish raising them, that's really hard. So yes, definitely he's a warrior to be able to do that. Tony then goes one step further. Well, before that, Tony also said he doesn't feel like Christine has dated enough. Because Christine shares that, you know what, I'm 50 years old. I know exactly what I'm looking for, what I like. And so David's it. And she says, I've dated enough. She's dated 8 people. And so Tony is like, maybe date a few more people. And I kind of think eight's not a lot. 8 is not a lot. But I do think if you think you found what you're looking for, then why keep on dating? Right? So if you found what you're looking for, you gonna pause on David just to make sure? Nah. So I get what he's saying, but I also understand that Christine has found what she liked, and so why would she keep on looking? Um, so Tony goes on to also say that David reminds him of Kody, and you could feel like you the butt everybody went up in the air a little bit because they was clenching their butt cheeks, right? So I don't know why he says things like that, but what I think is interesting is Tony actually reminds me of Kody. I think McKelty went out and found somebody that really reminds her of her daddy. Tony reminds me of Kody, not just because of the hair, that he likes to fling around, but he's very charismatic. He likes to be the center of attention. Sometimes he wants to say something so bad he don't know what to say. He reminds me of Tony. She found a version of her dad, and she's actually a version of her dad too. So I thought it was interesting when he said, David reminds me of Tony. And he said it's because he's a boomer and he uses boomer language, which I was confused by because I didn't think that Kody was a boomer. I feel like Kody is not a boomer. I feel like Kody might be a boomer. I have to look it up, but I think Kody is in his mid-50s. So I don't think Kody is a boomer just yet. But anyway, it's the way he talks that reminds him. But I think, too, Tony just like to have something to say. And I think that Tony likes to have something to say that will annoy Christine. Because she gives him the look sometimes like, why are you talking? Why are you talking? But he can't help himself. Let's see. Then, so Christine is sharing how, listen, I found him. This is what I want. And McKelty pipes in and says, well, I proposed after 14 months. And Isabel turned to her and said, but we're not talking about you right now. We're talking about mom. And turned right back to her mother. When I tell you, I don't know why that it tickled me. The way she just kindly turned to her, we're not talking about you right now. We're talking about mom. And McKelty couldn't do anything. I'm like, okay. And shut it down. I was like, now you know what? Those are 2 sisters in love right there. Because McKelty didn't get mad. McKelty was like, thank you for reminding me. And Isabel was like, and back to the conversation. So I thought that was really, really cute. Peyton jumped in, the most reasonable answer. Peyton was like, Peyton also had a confessional. And then Peyton's opinion basically was, I want to see you happy. If this is what it is, I am happy for you. I wish you would go slower, and I don't want to see PDA, but I'm glad for you. And I noticed that Peyton's voice sounds so much like Kody's voice. Like, when you really listen, maybe with your eyes, like he sounds just like Kody. I thought it was Kody for a second. I looked away and I was like, wait, what? And it was Peyton. So then, we go on. I watched the wedding special, and I think sometimes because I watched the wedding special, I'm thinking that I'm seeing clips from the wedding special. So Christine tells the story again about how, they were somewhere around family and she was nervous and he was nervous and they sat down and their hearts synced up with each other and they sighed and she knew she wanted this forever. And I thought that was a clip, but no, I think it was because it was in the wedding because I felt like I heard it. There was a couple of times tonight where I heard things and I thought, is this a part? And I think it was just in the wedding special. I wish I hadn't watched the wedding. If I had not watched the wedding, I think I would have enjoyed David's and Christine's dating much more had I not watched the wedding special. It's kind of like, I already know how the story ends. So then I'm just going over my notes here. I thought it was also interesting. When they were talking about being boomers, the director, clarified with Christine and said, yes, David is actually a boomer. He's right on the cuffs. And that led to Mary talking about the 80s and Kody talking about the 80s and how they both loved the 80s. And I was like, see, y'all had something in common. Y'all just don't want to remember. So we have a scene with Janelle, and she is with her daughter, Maddie, and Caleb, and they are, visiting and talking about Coyote Pass. And, Lord, please let this woman out Coyote Pass. But, Janelle shares that she would really like to find some land because they kind of all have the same dream. Maddie and Caleb and her, they want to own some land and do some sort of, not farming, but more like a little bit of homestead. They want some land around them to grow things and do some stuff with. And so she was saying that she really does want to be settled, but she's tied up with this Coyote Pass and these other properties. And Kody isn't moving fast enough for her. She has put the question to him to request that he buy her out. But of course, he's not moving that fast. And she's saying she may have to get an attorney. But we do know that present day, Janelle, hopefully it worked out what Kody brought out, because Janelle and her daughter and Caleb, they have purchased a farm somewhere in North Carolina, and I think it's a flower farm, which I cannot imagine. That's how heavenly that must be, a flower farm. But Janelle, you could feel it through the screen when she said, I want to settle somewhere. I want to be settled somewhere. And so hopefully she, this is it for her new place, to Farms or something like that. So we finally get to the scene where we see Kody going over to Mary's house. And Kody is going over to Mary's house to let her know that he kind of regrets how everything has went down, and that they should always consider each other family, if not friends, because they do have a child in common. And that if she ever needed anything, that he would be glad to help her and would come at her beck and call. That is not what Kody went over there for. He should have went over there for that. That'd have been great had he went over there for that. But apparently he went over there to huff and puff and try to blow her house down. He was huffy about something. I'm thinking, dude, you haven't been over to our house since she's been trying to get you over there forever. And now that she has asked for her spiritual release and is trying to get her life together, you over there, we got to talk. And then, so they go in, he comes into the house. They're very awkward around each other. And I did wonder, okay, why Robin didn't come? She wants to be in every other conversation, but no, Robin wasn't there. It was just the two of them. And you know what? That might have been producers. And so that was a good call. So, they're in there and they are, having some kind of chit chat, because it started out with, so what are you doing? What's new with you? And I'm thinking, oh, he's prickly. He's prickly. He came in tense already. And I am going to be honest. The conversation between Kody and Christine was hard for me to follow, because it just seemed like craziness at points. Like, what are they even talking about? So basically, Kody is asking her what does she plan on doing, and she's saying, I am going to be moving back and I'm not going to be living here. He tells her, well, he says he wants to talk about accountability, and it sounds like he wants to argue, because he's like, you're blaming me, it's not my like I said, it was confusing. And so she basically is like, whoa. If you have come here to fight and argue, and I feel like she's talking more production to him, because she's kind of glancing over, like, I'm not going to do this. I couldn't even understand what would be the point of rehashing. You're legally divorced and spiritually divorced. So why are you here to rehash whose fault it is? Who didn't do what? who let who down. And Kody is in the confessional, still going at it. Blame yourself if I didn't love you. Blame yourself if I didn't love you. I have never heard any that rationale he has about love. I've never heard anything like that before in my life, and I have heard some things. Basically, his argument is that what he was arguing for is, well, if I love a woman, if I madly love a woman, if I want to do things for her, like rub her feet and bring in her groceries, it's because she made me love her. And if I don't love her, that's her fault too. I don't understand where they do that at, Kody. Where is that in Utah? Is that a Utah thing? Is that a polygamy thing? I have not heard tell of this. Nothing is Kody's fault ever. Not even if he falls in love or fall out of love. If he treats you bad and he don't treat you bad, it is never his fault. And that ultimately is what he came over there to tell Mary, was that it was her fault. He said it's a conversation about accountability, not that he wanted to take any. No, it's that he wanted her to assume all the accountability, that she was a horrible wife, not good. And then he was confusing. I think he also went over there to do a little bit of gaslighting, because there was a point where he was talking about going forward. I could not figure out what he was talking about. He was like, I could fake it. I could have faked it, and I was willing to fake it. That's what he said to his wife. I could fake it, and I was willing to fake it. Mary says, but I didn't want that. I didn't want a marriage where you were faking to love me. But then he tried to make it sound like, well, that would have been real, okay? And she's still like, no, it was so confusing. I've never heard of that. But he said, but I'm willing to try. And then at one point he says, well, like, how do we go forward? And I said, see, this is how she ended up staying all those years, because she was hoping that things would work out. And then he would toss out, well, how do we go forward? And he must have thought it was going to work this time too. But she was looking at him like, oh my God, is you okay? She said, there is no going forward. There is no going forward. So I think he just wanted to come over there and blame her, gaslight her a little bit, see if he can get her confused up. Look, because I was confused. I was real confused. And I don't know, maybe it was the editing of them slicing his confessionals in with this, but it didn't make sense. What he was saying to her, it didn't make sense. And then at one point in the confessional, he made it sound like he was in that relationship because in their religion, I guess they have to answer to like a council or something. And he was like, well, you can't just discard wives, because when you discard wives, then you can't get other wives. And I was like, oh my God, is it him, or is this religion that objectifies women so much that they're just objects? Like, discard a wife, that sounds so horrible. But his ultimate thing is that he did not like that he was found at fault for the marriage ending, and that this is a bad look for him, and he doesn't want it to be his fault. He doesn't want to accept any of the blame. He wants to say, well, Mary didn't make me love her, and because she didn't make me love her, I couldn't do right by her, and so I didn't abandon her. I offered to fake it, and she didn't want it. Imagine that. And then we see Christine again, and one of the things that Christine shares, which I thought was really kind of nice, is before we talk about that, he mentions that he has a wife, and that his wife wants Mary to come for Christmas, and Mary is like, absolutely not. And he tries to make it sound like, well, I don't just do what my wife says. I was going to discard. Even that was confusing to me, because it sounds like, well, Robert is making me invite you, but I have my own mind, and I was going to disregard it, but I decided to do it. I couldn't understand. So, but Mary said, no, absolutely not. And I was like, good for you, Mary. Good for you for not falling back into that cyclone of craziness he's coming at you with. And he was just mad because he's on blast, mad because he's on Front Street, and the people in this church that he don't even go to no more knows now that he wasn't a good husband. He wasn't a good husband, not to marry. Um, but we also see Christine, and Christine is talking more romantic love about now she realizes what it was like for Kody to have found his soulmate, and how if she and that's something I think she said in the move in the wedding part too, that she could see now why he would never want to leave, because once he found his soulmate, you would want to be with them all the time. And so I don't personally believe in soulmates. I don't believe in soulmates. I don't believe in twin flames and split parts. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in compatibility. That you can be compatible with somebody. And so I think Robin and Kody are compatible. And that's why they have found love with each other. And Christine and David are compatible. And that's why they have found love with each other. But I thought it was really nice for Christine to kind of share that thought about Robin and Kody, even though it doesn't help like them anymore. But that for the most part is the whole episode, and I enjoyed it. It was confusing at points, but I enjoyed it, and I hope that you enjoyed this review as well. And if you will give it a like, share it, I greatly appreciate it. Subscribe, and I look forward to the next time. Take care.